Hey guys, it's me Simone, and in this video we are going to do a hack, a supply, I find serious with this video, like a supply alternative. So let's get started, shall we? So our supply alternative is going to be Brush Show. Brush Show is big, and I always miss like my turn, but I still think it's a good medium to thing to get. So let's talk about what I purchased. This is the Dharma Fiber Reactive dye. It's dye. Um, I got this off of DharmaTrading.com. I'll leave a link below. I have realized after I looked back on this to check the pricing that these have the name has changed. So I will link below what it is, so if you're interested in getting it. So let's talk about this. Comparing to Brush Show, I don't have Brush Show on me, I'm sorry. I just didn't feel like buying that, because I had this. So, but I mean, I've seen them in person. I know how big they are. They are really small containers. But let's do my comparison. I have 8 colors here, ranging from no primaries because they were kind of pricey. I don't want to get into that. So let's go over price point. See, I was prepared. This is my second time doing this video because I felt I was kind of all over the place. And there's still one thing I forgot. Oh my gosh. Or misplaced. That's the key word. Misplaced. I don't know where it is. I could remember. Bag. I should be able to. Alright. I bet I'll find it after I make this video. That's how useful it's going to be. Alright, so let's go on this. These Dharma Fiber Reactive dyes come in like 100 and something colors. I can't tell you, so many colors. They come out with new colors for the seasons every once in a while, so you have tons of options, and some of these colors do get discontinued, sadly. This is actually meant to dye natural colors, natural fibers like cotton, hemp, silk. A lot. You can do screen printing, stenciling, silk painting, tons of other things with this. There's another dye on their site that's meant for watercoloring. I didn't get that one. I got this one because this one was cheaper. And I found this one first. And it works perfectly fine. So, I don't know. Maybe there's a difference. I don't know. So, let's kind of open this up. You get 2 ounces. And for comparison, I'm going to compare this to grams because the brush art comes in grams. That is 56 point something something. I forget the rest of the numbers. I had that written down the piece of paper I'm looking for. But it's like 56 point something something grams. Now, I'm going to tell you this real quick. These, even though these are all 2 ounce containers, the pigment is different. I'm pretty sure these are weighted. So 2 ounces by weight, not by like just have to fill the container. So each pigment, you kind of realize this after a while, each pigment has a different weight to it. Which so some of these pigments have more, some of these containers have more pigment in it, and other containers have less. My yellow here, I have yellow in the most. I have yellow the most. I have the most of the yellow pigment, and my baby blue I have the least. But these both 2 ounces, they were about the same price, give or take. Next thing I should tell you, if you're wanting a primary color in this dye, like primary, it says primary on it when you scroll through, it will say primary. That's gonna be more expensive than these other colors I have, like just close enough colors. Like I'll go with my color names later, but I have a lot of mixed colors here that are made from another color, so they're a little cheaper than the primary true pigment. So, understandable. Price points, these range from $2.95 up to $4 and some change, I forgot. It just depends on if they're a true pigment, like a true like straight pigment, or a mixture of different pigments. It all depends. So, just keep that in mind. Next, let's talk about the colors I got. I got 8 colors. Let me show you. I'm going to stand up, so I might get a little louder. So I'm going to try my best to just quiet myself down, so I'm not like up in your ear. Come right by the speaker. So the colors I have are Daffodil, Seafoam, Black, Hot Pink, Chinese Red, Baby Blue, Golden Brown, Cobalt Blue. You can see that blue is dark. Even watered down, it's dark. You really need to water that down like a lot, like what you see around here, a lot. Now this is permanent. If you do a if you do a specific way, so I'm gonna put that out there. And I'll tell you the specific way is. If you don't do it a specific way, it's not. It will bleed for a while. So, let's go into my kind of examples. First example I have is the way a lot of people do it with the brush show style. You splatter the thing down and you spritz it. And it turns into amazing art. Oh, look at that. It's still reactive. Ah, so pretty. You see it's still moving. It's pretty. So the first way, we all know that brush show way is really pretty. I have big plans for this. That's on just regular cardstock. Not regular cardstock. That's a 65-pound Nina Exact Bristol board. Yeah. I always forget the name. The next we have is using this like a watercolor, which I did by putting this in these containers, putting water in it, and I painted on watercolor paper. Yeah, and I made her. Actually, my first video walked you through how I made her. That's a long video, and I felt like I was all over the place, so I wanted to just do the video again. It's okay. She's already done, so. Yeah, see how pretty she is? So let me get a brush, do a test real quick. Boom. So, I took this stuff as permanent on one condition. The specific way you have to do it. And if you don't do it this way, it's not permanent. If you do it the brush stroke style, which means you sprinkle the pigment on the paper, and then you spray it with water, it is permanent, but it's not going to look like it's permanent because it's going to be a bunch of little pieces of the pigment because it's a very fine powder. Very fine powder. A bunch of pigment is still going to be in your paper, and it's still going to keep reacting even if you don't see it. If you're like, oh, I don't see any pigment, and you go over it, it still might react because the pigment is very fine powder. Very fine powder. Which that fine powder comes with warning to not inhale, just like the brush show. You don't want to try to inhale the stuff. Don't try to, like, I wouldn't play with this with your fingers too much. Use a brush because it can irritate your skin. Of course, don't get this in your eye. So that's the warnings I wanted to just put out there for you. Alright, but as I was saying, this stuff right here, I just made a little, I dipped my brush in the powder, put water in here, and painted this on like watercolor. Have a wet brush here. And you see me right now trying to blend this out, and it's not moving. The only parts that are moving are some of my markers. I use some of the outlining and the lines in her hair and the lines of her nose is with a paint marker. Right here, the paint marker is bleeding a little bit. And some of my, I use a fine liner pen is bleeding, but the paint is not. This dye is not moving. I'm literally soaking this paper up, and it's not coming out. Like the brown is not bleeding out. Okay, so if you do it, if you use it like that, this is permanent once it completely dries. If you do it watercolor style, if you do not do it watercolor style, and you do it like a brush show, it's going to keep reacting until you hit each and every little fine powder that you sprinkled on your page. Okay? Or if you do what I did, and what I did swatches, that's why they did bleed too. If you get your brush, you dip it in the pigment, the powder, and you put it on your page and you start smearing around, you might not hit every powder. So second, so that's one thing. So this is a very fine powder, but it's very pigmented. Let me show you how fine I mean, you know. So I got I see all the tools I use, helpful tools I used. I can't find them. Here they go. Sorry, this is a palette knife. It's kind of dirty. You know what? Let me clean it up a little bit. Yeah, I don't want you to see my dirty utensils. Okay. So, look how fine that powder is. There's no salt, nothing in here. So, it's very fine powder. Very fine powder. And it sticks to things really easily. So I just put that thing in there, and you see the tip of my palette knife that's covered with pigment. So if I dip this in water, come out I do, boom, the water is now blue. I don't have enough pigment on here to really do anything, but it's enough that, you know, it's still blue. I would be careful to keep it closed when you use it. Try my best to put it somewhere where you won't knock it over. That's gonna be bad. Next thing I want to talk to you guys about is this stuff is pigmented. As I showed you with my swatch, this stuff is pigmented. No lie, pigmented. Okay. So understand that when I use this to paint her face, I literally, this is what I did, and I'm not gonna show you because I don't want to waste any more paint. But I got my brush, my round brush. I'm gonna show you this for this. I dipped literally not even like barely, like just coating the tops of the bristles on this brush with the pigment, and then I put it in this container and I drenched it in a whole lot of water and stirred it up and mixed it up so all the things dissolve. I used that little pigment. And her shading of her face, I went back into the container, only letting the brush, it was wet at that time, only letting the tips of the bristles touch the pigment, and then I got 2 shades darker. That's the shading on her face that I left, obviously, for fun, because I like the style. You see that? This obvious shading on her face. That's me dipping in only the top tips. So if you go and scoop this out and put it in here, especially these tiny containers, if you scoop this out, you better be adding a lot of water if you want a nice lighter complexion. Because if not, you're going to get a color that you can't, like that brown here. That's dark. So something to tell you. Next thing, if you do the brush show method, you're going to get the same method that you get with brush show. Any of these colors that are mixed, like my seafoam, my baby blue, some of my reds, some of these mixed colors, when you spray them, they're going to expose the extra color. So you can see, I only put 2 colors on here. I put my seafoam and my hot pink. And there's yellow here. I don't know if you can see that. Yellow here. There's no yellow on this page. Yellow here. It's purple because it mixed. And blue because it mixed. But there's a bunch of yellow. There's like some orange in here. You can't see that orange, but I can see it. There's a bunch of random colors in here that made these colors that you'll see if you do the brush show method of sprinkling it. With the sprinkling, all I did, I can show you, but I mean, I got a bigger brush. I got a big flat brush, dipped it in so dry, and sprinkled it like this, tapping it like you tap to do like splatters on my paper around, and did that with 2 colors, and that's what I got. I did purchase some glitter containers to sprinkle this out so it's easier to get a hold of it, but it is permanent. It dyes, so it's dyeing your paper. Think of just like a dye ink pad. This is the same thing. It dyes your paper. If you use a lot of this pigment, if you dip this wet brush into the pigment and put in your paper, it's going to keep reacting because you didn't dissolve all the powder. But if you put it in a container and you mix it first and then you use it, it's going to be permanent. So you see what I'm saying? The method of how you do it. As I said, I did this like a couple minutes ago, and the paper is a little still wet. This is Nina Exact Bristol board paper, 65 pound, and this is watercolor paper from I think it's Art Loft. I don't remember. I think it's the Michaels brand watercolor paper. So you see the difference, and that's 100 and I don't know, 40 pounds. I can't remember. I'll leave some links below to the stuff I have here. I'm gonna link to the Dharma dyes, to my watercolor paper, to this Nina Exact paper. It's my favorite paper using for mixed media purposes and stuff. And but I don't know if you can see, this is very pigmented. let me see if I can get, like, I think a lot of us have, where'd it go? A lot of us have the Artist Loft paints. I'm gonna see if I don't know what any of these like this. I was gonna see if I can find those and do a comparison between them, since a lot of us have those in our stash. Oh, right here. I'm blind. I knew I put it up here. Yeah, it's Artist Loft. I checked it. It's an Artist Loft paper. So I have some watercolor paper right here. I'm gonna do a test with my Artist Loft paint. I know a lot of people have these, and I do think they're nice to have. I mean, they're decent. I've had worse. Let's just say that. I've had way worse. So I think they're nice enough. And we're going to do, I'm going to do two colors. So I'm going to do this dark blue here. That's like a, kind of like a cobalt, and my cobalt blue. And then I'm going to do the closest color, which seems to be like this color in comparison. So let me wet these. Add my water to my spring. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing with, let me find my glues. So I'll put the rest of these up. So I have baby blue, what's the color I'm using? Or I'm using seafoam. What's that I'm using? Baby blue. Baby blue. Cobalt blue. Okay, put these up. So I'm going to show you now. I can show you how much paint I actually use. So I'm going to use, I'm going to use this brush. Nope, no. I'm going to get the brush I'm actually going to use. So, wherever that one is. So, get some round brushes to use. And let me get, like, find another brush. Here we go. I found one. Okay, so let me show you how much I'm actually going to use. So, cobalt blue. This stuff is very pigmented, so it doesn't look like blue. That's why I do a swatch. See how much? Can you see how much is coating my bristle? All right, got that in, and I'm gonna add a crap ton of water. Yep, there you go. And then we can see how that turns out. Baby blue. Baby blue is a little more, it's like way lighter, but still, it's like a semi-wet brush, like a damp brush. I'm coating the tip. See that? See that? Right there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to add a little more. And then add a bunch of water. And see this container? I can, one, control how much water I add. And two, I can make sure I help dissolve the pigment properly. Alright, let's begin. Let's do the comparison. Alright, gosh. Here we go. Let me get a permanent marker. This is the Art Skills Jumbo poster marker I'm using because I like it. And I'm going to use I'm going to need a pen that works. Dharma over here. And then, Artist Loft. Okay. Let's go. We're going to go in the darkest color first because I want to. So, okay. I'm just going to put as much as I can and then pull it down. See how it goes. Pull it down. Let's go with this cobalt color. Actually, that's not. I had way too little. Okay, let's try this again. Let's add a little more. Okay. Sorry. Close that up. That's my biggest fear is spill these. Knowing that that was too light, I'm going to add in a little more of this. Kind of fight that that's too light, and this is definitely not. Yeah, perfect. It's a nice color though. So this baby blue is really pretty. Oh crap. Oh here. I almost forgot which color I was dipping this in. Ah. It's a very light color. Now don't forget this is a pigment as a powder. It's a dye, so it's going to dye the paper. So let's go with the color that's supposed to be the closest to this. And let me blow dry this. Let's compare and contrast. Alright, so I'll show you the colors I use in comparison. I use this color, dark color. And out of the blue section right here, I use this one right here. to compare against my baby blue and my cobalt blue. So this is a color, it looked like the closest cobalt color I could find on that palette. And even though this went down, I feel like it looked beautiful when it first went down. But as it dries, it does look really chalky. And it feels chalky. And this is way smoother. But do not forget, this is a dye. It's dyeing paper too. This watercolor is sitting on top. So just do think about that. Do think about that. But I do feel that this is way smoother when it dried on the surface than this one. It did blend down a little. It did have trouble blending out because it was starting to dry and dyeing the paper. So it was trouble, but it still looks much better than this one. This looked better. I think it looked better when it was wet. There's a drying. You can kind of see, like, I don't know if you can see it. It's just, you can see the chalk. I guess something. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of make chalk paint, and I see how it looks on certain points in time. And this does remind me a lot of like when my chalk paint kind of looks like at some points when it's like drawing itself out. So that kind of is off-putting to me. No lie. It does look kind of chalky. It feels chalky. On my fingers. And the color is pretty, but I feel it's not as much depth as this color does. Moving on to the bottom. This is the like middle shade color. They're not exactly the same. I don't know how my camera's picking that up. They're a little different. Same thing goes. This one looks way beautiful. This color looks way prettier when it was first putting down, but as it dried, you can kind of see like how grainy kind of, yeah, that's it, grainy it is. And it's not as solid. And don't forget, this is a dye, so it's dyeing the paper, and this is sitting on top, so it's not permanent. This one just feels like it's much smoother color. It's not as grainy. We can really tell there's chalk in here. We can tell that. Second thing is, when I was blending this out, of course I had some difficulties because it was drying, so it's trying to like become permanent. And this one looks like it's going to dry better, but it's like this one looks bad when it, I don't say look bad, but it doesn't look the best when it's wet, but it looks way better than this color does dry, because this one just looks kind of, I won't say crappy, but you see where I went with my brush and did it. I tried my best to be as smooth as possible, and it didn't look this bad. You didn't see my brush strokes when I was painting, so I just ran. It's just a comparison. Just to show you guys the Artist Loft and the Dharma. If you were thinking of watercolors, you can see the quality of these. I bet you could turn these into a watercolor, like kind of like a twinkling H2Os, but not the twinkling part. But like get this and mix it with, what's it called? I can't think of it. Gum Arabic. So I might do a video later on showing you guys maybe how these look like, maybe in a spray and maybe as actual paints, like watercolor paints, and we'll see. If you're interested, like this video, guys, and leave me a comment below or something and tell me if you're interested in seeing these, or if you're interested in seeing me play with these some more and kind of show you guys what they like. But I do like these a lot. I'm not a big fan of watercolor. I'm not at all. I will be the first to tell you I'm not a big fan of watercolor. I tried watercolor for a long time. The crappy versions that would literally, when you would rub on them, the pigment would just come off the paper because it was just really chalk. It was no binder or nothing. But I really like her. Even though I kind of messed her up when I put my thing over, I still like her. I can just cover that up. I do like her a lot more, and as an eyeshadow or something. And to me, she looks really pretty. The color is very vibrant. It doesn't look chalky once it dries. Do not forget, this does dye the paper. And the method we use, this is permanent. This is not. So, I mean, I can go and show you right here. These have dried. Yep. I'm going to get a flat brush and go over it. I'm having like really barely any color come off. Nothing fraying. There's barely any pigment coming off. But this one, I'm moving the pigment around. Don't forget, this thing was like $5, and these things are about $3 to $5 a pill. Okay, so let's compare these. Let me talk about the brushes compared to these, because I did not do that yet. So let's talk about this yet. The brushes come in 15 grams of little bottles, which means they are weighted, which means some pigment will come, some will have more than others, which is the same thing with this. This comes with, and so 15 grams is about 0.56 ounces, like, yeah, no, 5.3 I think is, one or two, but it's like basically half of an ounce. These containers come with 2 ounces of containers of powder. As I said, each powder and pigment has different weight, and so some have more than others. As I showed you, I have more yellow. I have more yellow than any of the color here. Every other color has either a half. My yellow, I have 3/4 of a container full, and my baby blue, I have literally 1/4 of my color full. So it's us weighted, so you can get more or less. It's kind of sad. But realize that. Next thing to realize, and the weight. This 2 ounces is 56. Wow, that's crazy. Point some numbers, I forgot. I can't find my sheet. I wish I could, because that would really help me. Right, we don't know. Wait, is that it? I think I found it. Yeah, I found it. Yay. So as I said before, I was right. I was still right, though, and numbers are still pretty much good. So, as I said, brusher comes in 15 grams. That's 0.53, my bad, ounces. And the Dharma dyes come in 2 ounces, and that is that's 56.69 grams, about 70 grams. So, about 60 grams here and 15 grams in brusher. So you get way more pigment. And I don't know the comparison of pigment compared to these, since I don't have any brushes. But I'm just showing you guys how pigment these are, and they're a fine powder, so you don't have any problem with a lot of the dyes where the salt is getting in the way, or they're not as pigmented. They are really pigmented. These are meant for a lot of things. So I said screen printing, silk paintings, whatever. And they even have dyes on there that are meant for watercoloring. I'm pretty sure they need to put that in for this one, because this really looks beautiful. As to the warnings before, I would not try your best not to like get this on your skin too much. Like it says it can cause irritation, so if you're really sensitive, just keep that around. I am sensitive, but I've had no problems with it. Occasionally my hand might brush on it. I think it's fine, but I wouldn't sit here like dip my fingers in the dye and like play around with it. I know none of them are going to do that, but just for like, you know, just to say it. Of course, this is a fine powder, just like brush, so I would be careful about this. Don't like blow on it like, whoo, you know, around like, and just breathing in, because that's not good for your lungs. And of course, don't get this in your eye, because that would be horrible. It can cause eye irritation. So that sums up my video. I have 8 colors here, guys. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna buy some more, because I saw some amazing colors. I like that because they have more colors than Brush Show do. Yes, and they're very pigmented. Even if you don't get this to replace or instead of Brush Show, I think they're really nice colors. I don't do dyeing stuff, but for how much I get, this thing will last us a long time. So I will make a video, most likely will make a video part 2, because I'm curious to see how these turned out into watercolor paints, dry watercolor paints, and how they turn out in sprays. So I will show you that later. Of course, as I said, please be careful with these if you do get them, just with Brush Show too, because the powder and everything. But I mean, what I've showed you so far, where's my other one? Unorganized. Crazy. Okay, sorry. I just had to laugh at myself for being so unorganized. My desk is like a hot mess. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and it helps get you guys inspired to make some beautiful works of art. Leave me links below, comments below of anything you want me to do with these. If you want to see me paint with them, maybe a tutorial of how I did his face, since I did delete that video and just showed you her. And much love, and I will see you guys later. Get crafty, guys. Bye.